Rink-wide Vancouver, pre-game, post-game, every game presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play, bodog.net. Wadden and J-Pat here with you once again with another edition of the pre-game show as we're running out of these, J-Pat. Final 5 for the Canucks on the season, and the Chicago Blackhawks are in town.
Yeah, the Blackhawks have won more recently than the Vancouver Canucks have. Canucks are 19 points ahead of the Hawks in the standings. Canucks are 2-0 against the Blackhawks this season, but Calgary the other night, Chicago went in there, got a victory over the Flames, and of course the Canucks limping a little these days. They've lost 4 in a row, so they're going to try to put an end to that streak. Should be able to get the victory, but again, the Flames should have been able to beat the Blackhawks, and they couldn't do that all season. In fact, Chicago swept the season series from Chicago. Canucks will try to sweep the season series from the Blackhawks.
Let's get to the lineup change. It's presented by Delaney's OK Tire out on Fraser Highway in Langley. Look at that. Another new face in the lineup for the Canucks.
Cole McWard is going to be the newest player to make his NHL debut. 21-year-old right shot defenseman out of Ohio State. Got a practice in yesterday, and they are throwing him into the big leagues. Interesting story. He told us yesterday after practice, up until he was 14 years of age, he was a forward, and here he is at the age of 21 debuting in the National Hockey League as a defenseman. So he made the switch at a relatively late age, but we know the premium on right shot guys, and so here he is. The Canucks don't have many in their system, so we'll see what Cole McWard looks like, and we'll see who he plays with. Sounds like he may start the game with Ethan Bear, but Rick Tocchet said probably going to experiment a little bit, so look for a couple of different pairings for the youngster in his first NHL game.
As the season winds down here, there's some individual accomplishments that some players are going to want to reach. And those leaders, though, they're going to have to step up and set the tone here.
Yeah, and when I think of leadership, a lot of that is the best players are the power play. They make up the first unit power play. It has gone ice cold of late, so you'd like to see them step it up on the power play, but really in all aspects of the game. Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, JT Miller have all been a little quiet here during this 4-game losing streak. We know that they're capable of so much more, but you do wonder with the amount that Rick Tocchet's leaned on them down the stretch, and really since he took over, have these guys hit the wall? Of course, Elias Pettersson chasing that 100-point mark, so certainly that should be some incentive with those 5 games remaining. He needs 3 points to get to the century mark.
And Rick Tocchet needs a full group effort, 60 minutes from everyone in this one.
Yeah, it's not that the Canucks have had terrible starts and have not been able to catch up in these games. You look at the 4-game losing streak, they have opened the scoring in all 4 of the games, and in fact, in 2 of them against Calgary and the other night against Seattle, have had 2-0 leads, and then they've kind of coasted from there, and it's too tough a league to put it in neutral and think that you're going to be able to keep other teams off the scoreboard. And so Seattle roared back and scored 5 unanswered goals. Of course, Calgary came all the way back, 1 in overtime the other night against Los Angeles. It was only a 1-0 lead, and the Kings won that one going away as well. So the lesson to the Canucks is, yeah, great, have another good start, but then make sure that you see it through 20 minutes. It's not going to be enough to get it done most nights in the National Hockey League.
And generate some shots on goal. The Canucks have not been doing enough of that as of recent.
No, 3 of the games here on this losing streak, their last 3 games, in fact, the high watermark for shots is 25, and that tells you that the Canucks probably don't have the puck as much as they would like, and when they do, I don't know if they're looking for pretty plays. Some of that goes back to the power play. We talked about that. The fact that they're just not doing an awful lot with the man advantage. They had the 5-on-3 against Seattle. They had a 4-minute power play in the third period, 9 minutes of power play time against the Kraken, and managed only 4 shots on goal. So, test these goaltenders, make them make some saves, and just try to drive that shot total up a little higher than it's been over the last handful of games.
It might be the Blackhawks, but the Canucks are going to have to show them some respect. Hey, we saw what they did against Calgary.
I wonder if this helps Rick Tocchet and the coaching staff. If the Blackhawks had limped in here on a 9-game losing streak, you'd wonder, are they ever going to win again? And it's fair to wonder if they'll win another game this season. But the fact that they went into Calgary and never trailed, they got a lead there, they were able to build on it. I think that helps Rick Tocchet just get his team's attention by saying, look, they did it against the Flames. We know that game meant something to Calgary. Game really doesn't mean anything to the Vancouver Canucks, but again, it's the NHL. The Blackhawks have guys that are playing for their futures. And so I would think that, yes, the Canucks in no position whatsoever to take anybody lightly or not show a level of respect. So, again, you're expecting a professional effort from the Canucks. You want to see the leaders lead the way, and then some of the younger guys follow in their wake.
Let's take a look at the Blackhawks now. You mentioned they snapped that 8-game losing streak against Calgary, but they are still tied for last overall in the NHL.
Yes, they've got some company way down there at the bottom of the standings, tied with Columbus and Anaheim on 56 points. So it really is a turtle derby to the finish for the best odds in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. And again, you do wonder how much motivation do these teams have at this point to pick up any more points in the standings. Whatever the case, they're on the schedule. The game will go ahead, and we'll see how it all shakes down. And for the Blackhawks, it had been a tough go. Prior to that win in Calgary, they had lost 8 straight in regulation. It's tough to lose 8 in a row in regulation and not get a point. In that 8-game stretch, the Vancouver Canucks went into the Windy City and picked up a win there on a Sunday night a couple of weeks back. Chicago had been outscored 40-17 over those 8 games, but they exploded for 4 goals in a 4-3 win over the Flames at the Saddledome the other night.
Wins are hard to come by when you're the lowest scoring team in the NHL, though.
Yeah, just 188 goals on the season. The 4 goals that they scored in Calgary, that was the first time in 10 games that they had hit the 4-goal mark. So, again, it just shows what an obstacle it is for this team. Short-staffed as they are, ahead of the trade deadline. Obviously, Patrick Kane, a legendary Blackhawk, one of the greats of all time. He doesn't play there anymore. Max Domi was dealt to Dallas as well. And so they were the top 2 scorers for this Chicago team, but they don't play for the Blackhawks anymore. Yeah, it's been a struggle to win, and a big part of that has been, it's been a real challenge for the Blackhawks to put pucks in the net.
He was a Canuck killer early on in his career. This could be the final game in Vancouver for Captain Jonathan Toews.
Yeah, Captain Serious, and what a serious body of work this guy has put together, but he's been dealing with a serious ailment, long-haul COVID. Came back the other day. He's played 2 games after missing a month. And remember, this is a guy that sat out an entire season not that long ago, but he still has it. He's got 2 assists in the 2 games back, and who knows if there's hockey beyond this season for Jonathan Toews, but what a strong connection between that player and this city. He was drafted 3rd overall at Rogers Arena back in 2006. He won a gold medal at Canada Hockey Place in 2010. And of course, everybody remembers the shorthanded goal that he scored to force overtime in Game 7 before the Canucks slayed their dragon. So Jonathan Toews with a really solid history in the National Hockey League, but particularly when it comes to the Canucks and the city of Vancouver. So yeah, you may not have to like him because he's on the other side, and obviously was at the height of the Canuck-Blackhawk rivalry, but I think everybody has to respect the work that he has done. He's going to be 35 later this month, so time catching up to Jonathan Toews and maybe the end of the line at the end of this season.
Let's get to the stat that stands out. It's presented by Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
When we talked about the Blackhawks' struggle to score goals, I think this puts it in perspective perfectly. Taylor Radish is their leading scorer after the trade deadline and the players they dealt away. I remember the last time the Canucks played the Hawks, I asked you if you had Taylor Radish in your hockey pool, and I said, I hope you don't. With all due respect to Taylor Radish, he leads the Blackhawks 20 goals and 37 points. His 37 points puts him 200th on the nose in NHL scoring. So that's how deep you have to go in the National Hockey League scoring race to find a Chicago Blackhawk. He's their leading goal scorer with 20. He's gone 10 games without a goal. So the challenge, it is real for the Blackhawks, and that to me is a stat that stands out. A presentation of Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
Time now for my Bodog best bet. I'm looking at Andrei Kuzmenko, anytime goal scorer at plus 150. He's gone a little cold recently, and of course he had those 2 against St. Louis. Hasn't scored now in 3 games, but he does have 2 goals and 4 points in 2 games against the Blackhawks. I feel like Andrei Kuzmenko is going to continue to destroy Chicago tonight for the Canucks.
Yeah, he scored a pair against the Blackhawks in Rick Tocchet's coaching debut back in January, and he's got Anthony Beauvillier back on his line. That's one of the changes that we saw at practice yesterday, so it'll be Kuzmenko and Beauvillier on the wings, with Elias Pettersson chasing that 100-point mark in the middle. The band is back together, if you will, and I like that. 3 seems like an eternity for Andrei Kuzmenko to go without a goal. So he's probably overdue against a Chicago team that is pretty permissive when it comes. We talked about their struggles offensively. They've got their challenges defensively as well. So I like that one. I have a feeling that you might hit on your best bet tonight.
All right. I've got number 96 to do something. Who do you got that needs to do something tonight in this game?
Yeah, I'm going with the collective, and I'm talking about the Canucks power play here. We touched on it earlier when we said that they're just not generating much in the way of shots on goal, certainly not putting a lot of pucks in the net. 0 for 9 in their last 2 games. and they gave up the shorthanded goal the other night to the Seattle Kraken as well. Now, there was some question about whether Quinn Hughes was even going to play in this game. He missed practice yesterday with strep throat, but he's got the green light. The medication has worked. So Quinn Hughes, their offensive driver from the back end, he'll be out there. So they should have their top unit power play together. And again, against the Blackhawks team that has struggled defensively, I'm looking for this Canucks power play. He doesn't have to set the world on fire. I'm not expecting 3 or 4 power play goals, but certainly it would be nice to see them make a dent on the score sheet, because I think the rest of the team kind of follows and takes its lead from the power play. If the power play's on, it means the best players are into it and they're making things happen, and then other players can follow suit from there. So it's not just one guy. I'm looking at the 5 on the first unit, and I'll throw in power play 2 as well. Anybody that touches the ice on a Canucks power play, I'd like to see them do something against the Blackhawks tonight.
All right, let's see if the Canucks power play can help them power through this losing streak, get a W over the NHL's worst team in the Chicago Blackhawks. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.